Okay, kia ora everyone, right to the point here. Over the weekend we had this image here leak. This is the upcoming LEGO Marvel Fantastic Four First Step set, which releases to coincide with the new movie. I am a Fantastic Four fan here, and I've been waiting for these guys to come into LEGO for over a decade. My expectations then are unreasonably high, but that's what happens when you have to wait 13 years for something. I have some very specific personal thoughts here, and I wanted to cover this in some detail now before the official release. That means that this video here is probably going to be more of a nitpicky one, so fair warning in advance if that type of content is draining for some viewers. Liking and subscribing here to this channel does help to support more videos like this one. Some set info first. These images actually come to us from Twitter user Build blogs, and I managed to grab these from maxblizz.com. Now supposedly this set here was released to store shelves early, though this is extremely early if true. The set there contains 427 pieces in total, with 4 exclusive minifigures, releasing June 1st, 2025 for the price of $60 USD before tax. So here in NZD, for the likes of me and maybe some of you watching, that translates to $100 NZD. I'm expecting this to maybe be $110 NZD then. Right, so general thoughts first and then some close-up details. My initial thoughts are that I feel quite conflicted here with this release. I think realistically, this is a decent packaged release, especially for the general consumers of these LEGO Marvel sets. It's the Fantastic Four and Galactus in one single release. What more could you ask for? It's always a win in my book if LEGO makes sets based on a team-released property and the minifigures are rather easy to acquire. It's been a rather recent change lately and I always appreciate it. The Fantastic Four have been in a rather weird state of releases since that 2015 movie. Famously, X-Men, Spider-Man and Fantastic Four were the bigger named characters that weren't allowed to be used in Disney projects, which subsequently meant Avenger projects. And this here seemed to be the reason why LEGO stopped releasing products for those characters, at the very least for X-Men and Fantastic Four, since LEGO never stopped making Spider-Man based releases. That's enough to make you think. I am personally a collector of the comics and cartoon based releases more so than the movie sets. I'll still grab the odd MCU release set because it's more likely that LEGO are going to translate characters from those movies than they will comics or cartoons, but my displays are mostly based on comics or cartoons, so my preferred Fantastic Four set would have been ideally a comics based release. So I'll be the first to admit that I do come across as a jaded fan towards this, being a stickler that hasn't had his expectations met to the exact degree, but like I said, I do think this is still a solid set idea and release, and I imagine a lot of people will be over the moon for this once it's hit shelves, because it is doing everything that I've always been asking for. It's just not to the style and degree that I wanted. So let's cover the build first and then the figures. Finally, we have Galactus here in LEGO, the big bad from the first LEGO Marvel video game release. Growing up, I was told to view this guy as the baddest of them all, often appearing as the ultimate boss battle throughout other video game releases that I admired as a kid growing up in the 2000s era for Marvel. He was a big dude that ate planets and was deemed the definitive Avengers leveled threat. In the LEGO game, he appears as a minifigure that's just been upscaled to be massive. Later on in LEGO's life, they actually released models of minifigures at a larger scale. One of the beloved releases being Giant Man from 2016. This at the time just rocked my world, and he's still to this day my favorite LEGO Giant Man release. The idea is very sound. It's a brick built design to resemble a minifigure. It looks amazing size wise and build wise. Later on down in LEGO's line, they did something wonderful for collectors like myself. They released this Harry Potter release, which was a giant brick built statue of Harry and Hermione as minifigures, to a much grander scale compared to Giant Man. The set is one of my favorites from Harry Potter. It's a marvelous build, and I really thought LEGO were onto something there in saying that I did get this at a 50% off clearance, as this did not seem to sell well with people, but sets that are priced at over 200 NZD are gonna do that. Part of me thinks that LEGO needed to do this, but with bigger characters that actually made sense build-wise. Realistically, it doesn't make sense to have Harry and Hermione of all people. We have seen as the years have gone on that they've been taking this idea for store exclusives. I believe there's like a pirate and like a generic minifigure. They look amazing, and I would love to have those in my collection as well. That to me kind of meant that the set idea was still around. Why didn't they do this with someone like Giant Man or Galactus, as most search results will show customs and mocks from people who have designed him in this brick built style. This appears to be what most of the audience were wanting. He appears to be a minifig but scaled up. But unfortunately, LEGO then started leaning very heavily on making Marvel Legends based action figures. These do not seem to be selling well, at least in my stores. I think consumers have made exceptions for a couple of releases though. Like, I've seen so many Captain Americas, both Steve and Sam's, just growing dust on shelves, but Ant-Man did seem to sell well, likely because he's a big character, so a big set of him made sense. Here you have Galactus packaged with minifigures, so the set's gonna sell regardless. I think the design here works for a Marvel Legends knockoff release. He genuinely to me looks like a smaller shrunken version of that HasLabs release. He features the colors that I was wanting to see there. The head is entirely brick built. It's even using the great minifig stickered head design, which was the exact way they did Giant Man in 2016, so he does feature some of the minifig elements that I was wanting to see. His proportions seem rather funny to me, where his skirt's looking pretty great, using some windshield pieces there, but the legs, arms, and torso look very skinny and slim for that towering giant. Galactus there features studs on the inside of his hands so that figures can be displayed as being grabbed. I can't tell from these images if anything here is printed. It could all very well be sticker details, but at least the stickers are large, so applying them shouldn't be too much of a hassle. The back of the box shows some more display elements, like how there's some display stands included, or at the very least there's one included for his shoulder. It would have been an ideal placement for a Silver Surfer figure, so it's a shame to see that she's absent here. But yeah, overall I think that this makes for a decent Marvel Legends knockoff. It's gonna make for a pretty good alternative for my display. And as for the minifigures there, again, I don't want to sound too negative, but you have to understand, I've waited 13 years for these minifigures there, and I needed them to be amazing, and they aren't. Now, I can't tell from these images if Sue's torso is different compared to the others or not, but upon closer inspection you can see that Johnny, Reed, and Ben all seem to be using slightly different torsos compared to one another. The costumes in the movie do all appear to be different as well. That to me is a weird costuming decision that I don't think works from what we've seen so far, but all my judgments are reserved until the movie actually releases. A huge knock I have for these figures comes with their legs. There's no dual molding for the boots, there's no white and blue legs, for reasons unknown to us. Like, obviously it's a costly choice and LEGO didn't want to do it. It makes the figures look cheap in my eyes. Premium prices should equal premium product, yada yada, you get the point. The reason why it pisses me off here though is because they've given Reed extended pieces for stretchy leg abilities, in which his feet suddenly have white boots there. So here, LEGO have released a set that features inconsistency between its minifigures, not even across multiple sets, but in one single release. Let's also talk about some genericism there. As expected with LEGO, something that's been really annoying me lately, LEGO have decided to pick very generic reused head and hair pieces that once again have already been used countless times in the LEGO Marvel line in general. Johnny here is using Hawkeye's hairpiece from the CMF series, which I do actually like. It is still a piece that feels rather new to me, and here it's been coloured in blonde. This is totally fine for me. But he is once more using the Tom Holland Spider-Man face, which was also the Paul Rudd Ant-Man face. That's pretty egregious to me. 3 characters using the one headpiece is a bit ridiculous for my display. It's really hard to tell from these images, but it almost looks like Sue Storm is also reusing a generic head print. It's the Jyn Erso head, which was then used in Marvel for Black Widow and for Jane Foster. I'm not getting too riled up for this because I can't tell from these images, but it does track that LEGO would do this since they are already doing it for Johnny. She's also using that outdated hairpiece that's existed since I was a kid. I wish she had something a little bit better going on there. I suppose out of all of them, this one kind of works, it's just disappointing to see. Reed and Ben seem to be the more unique figures here with their appearances, but on this note, I will point out that Pedro Pascal in the trailers does have some slight hints at grey hairs on his sides, but the idea of slight depiction isn't worth acknowledging for LEGO, so here they've opted to use a generic hairpiece instead. This is only worth mentioning because this exact hairpiece does already exist with additional side colouring in Doctor Strange, so why that piece wasn't used here instead, I don't know. Let's talk about their accessories though. It was reported back a while ago that each figure would feature something to represent their powers. Johnny here is using some general flame pieces. It's simple and enough to cover those grounds. It's not that interesting to me though. I think Human Torch fans are always going to have a tough time though, because you want to have both Johnny as a casual appearance and a flame on variant. I think that this is acceptable for the time being, but we do need to see a flamed figure soon. Sue just uses some invisible dish pieces, and that's totally fine. It'd be amazing to have a translucent figure of her sometime in the future along with Johnny, but it's likely that that doesn't happen, unfortunately. You see, it's Mr. Fantastic and the Thing that are the interesting ones there. Ben first, he uses a regular minifigure design and some big rock-like hands which were originally used for Kamala's to show her embiggen powers. Now, I haven't really talked about Ben here so far because, really, I don't have that many criticisms to throw his way. I think he's the best figure here, and I think he works well enough for the set at least. People will be disappointed that he's not a big fig, but you guys, looking at the source material, he shouldn't be a big fig anyway. The problem with him here is that LEGO have never released a body piece that works as a good in-between for minifigure to big fig. This body design from Nexo Knights is almost perfect, but it's been intentionally designed to act as a knight's armor piece or something. It doesn't look natural enough to be a human body. Hagrid's body is far too specific as well, but I guess I tell a lie before when I say LEGO have never done anything, because this here is proof that they have. Now, TT Games made the greatest LEGO piece I've ever seen in my life with Mr. Incredible. This thing was so good that it ruined the official LEGO sets for me. The real life figure just looks awful in comparison. It's one of the best things that I've ever seen in LEGO, and the fact that it doesn't exist just absolutely crushes me. This is what we need to see adapted into LEGO, and I am begging them to make this thing happen. Mr. Fantastic here is using some bricks to make his legs look long. Look, people online were saying that he desperately needed to use the Woody and Avatar long legs, but I can see the reasoning here for why he doesn't. Those legs are used to make tall characters tall, not used to demonstrate some stretch powers. This is LEGO's way of allowing you to demonstrate regular appearance and then go into a stretch method. I can see the workings there, I just don't think that the execution worked as well as they'd hoped. Really, with every single toy company in the world, when it comes to adapting Mr. Fantastic or Miss Marvel, they always just make brand new pieces and molds. I think LEGO needed to just commit here and make a specially molded piece that was something new and crazy. He's not using the stretch arms piece there, which is fine. That piece is locked into the minifig's torso permanently, and this way you can have a regular appearance for your display, but we don't have that piece in blue otherwise, so there's no stretch arms for him period, and that is a bit of a shame. That's probably everything I have to say about this really. I think the set works for the masses, I really do. I've just waited so long for a LEGO Fantastic Four set, and unfortunately, this one just doesn't do it for me here. My hopes are that LEGO will lock in and make comics-based sets now in the future. I want to see the Fantastic Car released as its own individual set, and that should be how we get the improvements that I've listed. I want to see Johnny in a flame-on appearance, I want to see Invisible Woman with more unique parts to her, Thing with a special molded body piece would be amazing, Reed with a better piece for his hair and some stretch abilities, maybe even a Silver Surfer minifigure. As it stands, I think the set here is totally fine, capital F. I think a lot of people are going to love this thing, and a lot of people are going to have the same issues that I have with this. Waiting for a sale purchase as always, but I will say I'm a bit more eager to get this set compared to many other modern releases lately, so that's saying something. Thanks for watching everyone, liking and subscribing here does help to support more videos like this in the future. Ka kite anō, take care, see you all next time.